Hello, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to Transformation 101. All of my work on my website and my upcoming book and my current book and workshops that I'm putting together, talks that I do, everything at the core is about personal transformation. But what's wonderful about personal transformation and why this is where I've landed with my work is because it is never in itself. It's never alone. It's never isolated. Personal transformation will always lead to changes in yourself and in the larger culture as well. I am a proponent of personal transformation work for anybody who wants to be an activist, anybody who wants to do work in the world, because the more we see of ourselves, the more we learn about who we are, what makes us tick, where our breaking points are, what our fears are, what our hopes are, the more we will have empathy and understanding as we work in the world. This is what differentiates transformation work from just traditional personal growth or self-help work, which is more just about improving the self and doesn't always have that additional step that's almost required with personal transformation, that what you're doing in yourself will manifest out in the world. Here's why. Transformation work, the work that I do, is grounded in the principles that all is one. All is one. We are not separate from the whole, and the whole is not apart from us. As above, so below are the aphorisms of the personal transformation work. So there is no such thing in this idea of doing something on the inside that doesn't reflect or manifest out in the world. I'm a proponent of activists doing personal transformation work, and I am an advocate of personal transformation people becoming active and engaged in the political and social realms as well. The two speak to each other, they mirror each other, they grow together, and they break down together. So we're in a time right now in the culture where things are breaking down. It's an opportunity for us to really see what things are made of in a way that we can't always when things seem to be solid and secure. There are gifts in a breakdown, personal or collective. It's all about our willingness to go into it, to explore it, and resisting that impulse to just band-aid it back up. Too much of today's personal growth and self-help work is about the quick fix and the band-aid. There's a lot of good work out there and a lot of ideas, but if you think about it, always starts from where you are right now and then moves out from there. So the language is building, raising, growing, boosting, enhancing, manifesting. That's all part of our human life cycle, but there's another critical a part of what makes human life what it is, and that's the breakdown. That's the undoing, the untying, the going inward instead of outward, the going downward instead of upward. It's directions that we're just not as comfortable with in our cultural lingo, but if you think about it, the times in your life where you have learned the most and the times in your life that have made you who you are today and have forged your strength and your courage and your resolve were probably times that started with a breakdown of some kind. Personal transformation is just about being conscious of that process instead of just letting it happen automatically. So now what we want to do is begin the work with a true understanding of what the status quo is. The status quo is the way things are right now, currently, in your life, in the world. That's the status quo. The status quo doesn't necessarily mean everyone's agreed to it. And it doesn't just mean like average or so-so. Like that's not the true definition of status quo, even if that's sometimes how it's portrayed. The meaning of status quo is the existing state. When we're working with personal transformation, we look at the status quo. We look at the existing state of affairs and we look at what built it up. What are the building blocks that made it so? What are the, if we're talking about the culture, what are the cultural beliefs and stories that are interwoven inside all of that? And if we're talking about the individual, then we're talking about the beliefs, the values, the mottos that repeat over and over in your own mind. That is the status quo in our mind. Oftentimes it feels like inertia, right? It feels like nothing's changing, nothing's moving, nothing's growing. And then that's what often sends us to personal growth and self-help work. But if you're just putting growth on top of inertia, then the inertia is still there. And at some point, that's going to break down. This work is about taking down that inertia, removing it, really examining the beliefs and the ideas that make us who we are, returning to a place of curiosity and creativity and imagination. And as we do that for ourselves and in our own world, and then as we go back out into the world, we have this better partnership within ourselves of, we've got this curiosity, we've got this creativity, so we can bring that into the world. We have reconnected with our own integrity, our own sovereignty, belonging to ourselves. This is the work of transformation. And then that person going out into the world then can stay more attached to that integrity, less likely to get caught up in the acts of groupthink, less likely to do something that they're going to regret later. When we do the work of personal transformation, we start with the breakdown. We work on breaking things down. In the process that I share and that I'm working on in my next book, we use the process of alchemy, which is all about making lead out of gold. But you can't just paint the lead yellow and call it gold, right? You actually have to break it down. And how did they do that? They did it with fire. Fire is the element of transformation. It is the element of illumination, of light, of clarity, of seeing, of awareness. And it is that which we bring to this work with a balance of an incredible, actually, amount of self-love and acceptance. Self-awareness, self-acceptance are the yin and yang of this work. They must go hand in hand. Otherwise, it's really easy to get very judgmental and critical of ourselves as we start to look at the beliefs that have taken over our lives. For most of us, this is true. Most of us live a life that's based on a lot of routine and habit and unconscious behavior. There's a lot of work out there these days about it's over 90% of our thoughts and our behavior is just unconscious reflex. We're just responding as we always have responded. You do this work and we become more conscious, we become more aware. And so that when we have interactions with other people or with ourselves, we find ourselves in a situation, we have space to pause. We have space to reflect and to make a conscious choice. Doesn't mean we still won't make mistakes. It just gives us a better batting average. I guess I'm not even a sports person, but here we go. So that's what we're working with here. It is not just a touch and go kind of work either. It's a commitment. Once you break down some of these things, you're going to have a difficulty going back into your life and pretending that you still have them anyway. So I do like to warn people that, be prepared for some changes in your life. Be prepared for some changes in your relationship, maybe your work. But also This is how we find our purpose. This is how we find our values and our true integrity. We don't have to borrow it anymore from a philosophy or a religion or some other outside source if we've cultivated it from within. The work is a three-stage process, and I talk about that a lot more on my website, and I have in the comments a link to an ebook, a free ebook that I have available that talks about this work in more detail and each of the three stages. In addition, right now, I'm also offering a free reflection journal that goes with it so that you can start this work on your own today. Here are some of the things that you will get as you start working on this, even just a little bit each day. Number one, you'll have better relationships, or at least the relationships in your life will become stronger. Sometimes you might lose some relationships, but the ones that you have that are good will become stronger. And that's because you're telling yourself the truth. And when you tell yourself the truth, you're likely to tell other people the truth. And as you model truth telling, more people will model that back to you. And that just boomerangs out into the world. That's just like a pebble in the pond. And that just keeps reaching out. That is a process of this work, or it is a result of this work. You will have better health, better physical health, better emotional health, better mental health, largely because we will have lightened that load of ideas that are that we've outgrown, that were never ours to begin with. How many of us have thoughts and ideas and beliefs and shoulds and should nots in our minds that were planted there by somebody else? And then we just sort of took them and now they just play on repeat and they limit us. They make us feel guilty. They make us feel less than. They make us feel unimportant. And so once we get rid of a lot of those things, we find a greater freedom. When you find that greater freedom, you will have access then once again to creativity and curiosity and imagination. And in there lies your true purpose. And when I talk about purpose, I don't mean, that one thing you're going to be for the rest of your life. Purpose is less of a noun than it is a verb. So less of like finding that exact job title that matches you to a T, because I don't know that that exists, and more about the ing of your life, the being. Are you friending? Are you healing? Are you a healer? Are you a connector? Are you making connections? These are the things that I think are more important when we're looking at purpose. And those will come more to light as you work in the dark of the transformation process. Once we do this work too, you will have so much more understanding of what your ethics are and what your integrity is and where your no's are, so that you will be able to go through your life with a better sense of no and a better sense of yes, which will better protect your energy. And so what you won't need anymore are false boundaries. The whole idea of boundaries is an idea that is designed around us not having discernment. So we just put up boundaries. They often become barriers and they don't have discernment on their own. So once we know what we really believe in, what we really want in our lives, what we're calling in and what we're not, that will all happen much more smoothly. You won't have to put up all of these barriers. So that is just an intro, an overview of what the process of personal transformation is, what it asks for you, and a few of the benefits that you might get from it. I'd like to continue to break these down a little bit more. I'd like you to come back. But in the meantime, do check out my free ebook and the reflection journal and anything else that you find on my website. That's all below. Get in touch with me, get on my newsletter. We're going to keep doing this work. It's really, really important. I can't think of a better time for us to be doing work like this together. Thank you.